Okay. So.
I think that Russell's were not as. I think that he was really very much in love with his wife and very much opposed to going away from her, and mostly
So he was married before he
he was.
left?
No, he was not.
Okay.
Wait a minute, was he or not?
So.
I think they were. Yes, they were married before he left,
Uh-huh.
but they hadn't. And they had to rob her in '47.
Okay, so that would have been right after the war, because the war
Yeah, so
ended in
he was born
45.
then after the war.
Okay.
Yeah,
So.
that's right. Because he and his wife were both working in New Orleans before the war. He was in a resident program there, and she was a dietitian at the same hospital.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, he very much didn't want to, and they were married, but he very much didn't want to be apart
Go into the
from
war.
her. And he always said about the war that what he did was inspect soldiers' feet. That that was, but he also had some tales about.
What does that mean? Inspect
I
soldiers'
guess
feet.
that soldiers' feet are very important to them. I don't know
Oh.
what he meant by that, and I should have found out.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, but and also I think he was meaning he didn't have any really
Oh.
important or satisfying sort of medical. He was always loved swimming, and he met a Hawaiian who was a famous swimmer, and through the Hawaiian got invited to lots of parties while he was in Hawaii, and he really enjoyed all of that.
Oh, did
Yeah,
he? That's good.
I guess that was the big thing with him and his children when they were very small was they were living in Kerrville, Texas, and there are little streams and rivers around. And every day after work, he took the children swimming at some sort of a little river close to there, and they became very good swimmers. And he really enjoyed it with them. I think perhaps from all the stories he's told that he was pretty much a strict father. Uh, but I know particularly that Barbara was probably received gentler treatment maybe than Robert did. Uh,
Yeah.
but they loved swimming with him and being with him.
Did did he take your girls on outings?
No, not very much. They Terry was 6 when they were married, and Barbara 6. And actually, I think he had almost 2 years by himself with children. He was very glad to have somebody else take over the child rearing for a large part. He was busy at work, and he got home in the afternoon after the kids had gotten settled out. He didn't really take a very big part in there.
I know traditionally, or it seems like men didn't do as much with the
I think
kids
that's right,
in years
yeah.
past as some do now. Like some don't now, but
Well,
some.
Paul just is tremendous. I was thinking, boy, it would have been great to have a husband like that. But he can do
Thank you.
he is so efficient too, and he got so much done yesterday. I said the things we needed to do, and the next thing I knew, he had them done. He's really tremendous.
Yeah, he is.
But neither, I think the only sort of household things that Russell really participated in was pretty soon we went to church together when we were first married. But pretty soon he made the offer to get dinner ready while the rest of us went to church, and that
Oh, really?
prevailed for a few years. And he was a very good cook. He did it very technically. He had a good cookbook, and he did exactly what they said, and things usually turned out
That's good.
well for him.
So why do you think he stopped going to your church? Or
I don't know.
yeah. So,
I don't know.
do you think, did he have faith in God? Did he believe in God?
I don't know that either. I guess when we after we moved from Lubbock in Georgetown, we went to church together. But as he got older and more infirm, he opposed almost any sort of a social
Yeah.
get together there.
Yeah. What, you've mentioned his illnesses a few times.
What?
His illness? Or you've talked about him being ill.
Yes.
What was wrong? I don't remember very well. So,
While we were living in Beaumont, he had a bowel obstruction, and had surgery for it. And while doing the surgery, the surgeon discovered he had a large hiatal hernia, which is a hole in the esophagus. You know what it is.
yeah, a hole in it, like there at the bottom?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Okay,
Which,
is that just where part of the muscle falls through where it
yes.
shouldn't be?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And it is not dangerous, but it causes a lot of discomfort. Anyway.
Is that why his speech was kind of, or no, that was the stroke, right?
That was his stroke
Okay.
that affected his speech. But without any consultation with either one of us, the surgeon decided to mend it. And that was something that, it was a very poor surgical procedure that he did, and caused Russell trouble for the rest of his life.
Oh, no.
He had had that hernia investigated earlier and been advised to leave it alone and learn how to live with it.
Oh,
And
goodness.
you can learn how to live with it. Most older people, they're very common, and you simply learn how to live with them. Anyway, he had trouble from that.
Infections, or what was the trouble?
No, not infections. Difficulty eating, regurgitation, difficulty swallowing. It's just an uncomfortable nuisance, sort of an ailment. But Russell didn't deal with it very well.
About what year was the surgery done? Do you remember?
This was in the early 70s.
Okay.
And he increasingly disliked his job there. He was visiting nursing homes and inspecting them, and he learned in that job to hate nursing homes, and almost to refuse to go into one of them, which had a lot of difficulty with his job. And they finally said they were dissatisfied that he would not visit the nursing homes, which was what his job was, and he didn't really feel like being away from home to go on these trips, so he decided to retire.
Yeah. How old was he when he retired?
Well, in 1976, he was born in 1910, so he was 66. But during that time, he had aged. He'd lost a lot of his vim and vinegar, and he was ready to retire. And moving to a new place was interesting. It's stimulating to. But then, as gradually he did sort of more and more lose. By the time we'd settled in Georgetown, I guess he enjoyed a few years of it, but he had sort of gradually lost strength and was having to use a cane to get around. He was having small strokes, which affected him.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember his speech, it being a little bit difficult to understand what he was saying. And he was telling me some stories about World War II, I think.
Uh-huh.
Something about a glove and a hand, and I don't know if I ever wrote it down. I wish I would have,
Uh-huh.
but I think it was hard for me to understand what he was saying exactly
Uh-huh.
and to follow it well. So, probably when I was about 16, he would tell me stories about the war.
Oh, really?
hmm So, but I don't,
Yeah.
I don't remember them well,
Yeah.
you know?
We think we'll remember things forever
I
and
know.
don't never write them down. And
No.
as you see, I forget things too.
Yeah, well, we do.
Yeah. But
um,
he remembered his, Russell had grown up poor. Well, they say that, but uh, I think it was the only way that he was affected by that was that in high school and college he had needed to work to help earn his way, and he had developed a lot of skills and job contacts so that he was always having 2 or 3 jobs. Do you know anything about that? Well, he started out working in a drugstore, and then he was a bartender.
okay.
And then when he went to college, I think he had about 3 jobs at the college that altogether earned his way through college. But it sounds like he worked tremendously
Wow.
hard.
Was that to finish medical school, I guess?
Oh, that was just to get through college before he
Okay.
got to medical school.
Okay.
Then in medical school, he had other jobs that I think he was smart enough that he didn't have to study as much maybe as you think of
Medical school.
of medical school having
Yeah.
to study because he was so busy. I met one of his friends once, a Dr. Maurer, in Boulder, Colorado, and he said, you know, I ought to have time to sit down and tell you all the tales I know about Russell. So I guess he was a very active college student who did a lot of things and had a lot of fun, but we never did have time to sit down and tell me all those tales. So,
Oh.
I don't know.
That's good. What school did he go to? I think I have this written down somewhere, but
The first year he went to DePaul as on a rector's scholarship, and I don't really know what that is. And then, because that was still expensive to go there at DePaul, he transferred to University of Indiana and went there, and then the University of Indiana Medical School.
did he have brothers or sisters that
No.
you knew?
No, I think almost a sister in his family, and I have tried and tried. Charlotte maybe was his cousin that grew up very close to him.
So he was an only child?
He was an only child.
Okay. So Charlotte was a cousin.
I think her name was Charlotte. I can't remember. Charlotte was very, very pretty. I've seen pictures of her. And she had a lifelong relationship with a doctor who was I guess he never did divorce, but he had a long-term relationship with this cousin. And the family talked about him as if he were a member of the family, so I guess he maybe was around a lot.
So she was his mistress? Is that what?
As I've gathered, but nobody ever put it in those words.
Okay.
Then he had other cousins. Dorothy Plummer was one, and I did find her name out there and a little material about her. And one of his cousins, a Horsman, visited us once in Beaumont. It was an engineer who was working down in Houston on some sort of I guess I left out a part of his history. His first job may have been working in a steel mill, and that's where all of his male cousins were associated with steel mills. He had wonderful stories about growing up with all of his relatives around, uh, I can't think of the name. Where did he grow up?
Kokomo?
Kokomo, yeah, about growing up there. Have you heard those stories?
In Indiana. Now I'm wondering if he told me a story about the steel mill, but I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I don't. If you know him, tell me because I don't know him. So.
Well, that's where he first started working, was at a steel mill, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. What did he do at the steel mill?
Well, I don't know, but probably what beginners at a steel mill do. But that was
Yeah.
some, and I think he worked at a cannery once. While he was trying to get through college, he just worked wherever there was something to do. But he seems to have grown up in a close family that with a lot of two sets of grandparents living around real close, and one of them obviously had money and property.
In Indiana? Is that where?
Yeah.
Did you know his parents?
I met his mother once.
Okay. Just once? You
No,
only met
I
her?
never did.
You never saw her again? Or
His wife?
his mother? His
Oh,
mom?
his mother.
Yeah.
I just saw her once.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess what was really interesting to me was that his mother wrote to him frequently, and this cousin that he was close to, whose name I can't remember, wrote to him, and they always wrote to tell him what their blood pressure was, and what all their medical ailments were.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know that he ever responded
Oh, really?
to them, but they really wanted, I mean, that was what they corresponded about, was all of their medical data, which always interested me.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you think, so his mom wrote with medical questions, and she didn't write about other things too? Or
well,
call?
no, and it may have just have been that nothing much was happening. I don't know. She had been to the store, and she'd been to church, and
when did she die? Do you know?
yes, she died while we were still living in Lubbock. So it was before 1960. And I think that she'd just been ill a few days maybe, but she had not been well for a while. Had he visited her? It seems so. But when she died, I think I told you that, it was, we had an old Volkswagen then that the kids drove, and he started up there in that Volkswagen, which broke down 100 miles from home, and he left it in a garage and got on a bus. And his mother was living in the house where he had grown up, and it was full of things, and he brought back what he could carry on the bus, which, and the rest of it, he said, he gave it to relatives or to anybody that wanted it.
Yeah.
That always amazed me, that you could walk away from a house like that. But he did bring back 2 suitcases packed with very fine glassware and china, which I guess he passed it on. I remember every time he had things like that, we just packed it up and sent it on to Robert and Barbara.
Yeah, I could ask them. Maybe Robert has it.
Did you not?
I
don't have any of it?
No. But I do, you sent me the punch cups.
Well, now he had
everything you just sent me.
He had that, but all the things that he brought, seemed like it was cut glass crystal, a lot of it, that he had brought home from his mother. And he must have seen it.
Oh, my mom has.
Oh,
that.
does she have some
I
of
bet
it?
she does, because we always drink out of that on New
Oh,
Year's
you
Eve.
do?
Yeah.
Good, good.
So.
That's great. Well, it was, and then I guess after we married, I already had china and crystal. We boxed theirs up in a couple of barrels and sent it out there for them to divide, and I always wondered if Barbara got her share. Or if she wanted it.
I'm sure she's happy, so.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
don't know.
Yeah, I know that was, I know that once we, on the trip we made, we went through there and picked up a set of Spode chinaware from his grandmother. And I think Robert told me later they sold it at a garage sale, which just left me a gape.
Oh, goodness.
But I don't know whether that is
Okay.
what happened or not.
So, yeah, I don't know.
But they had lots of fine. They had lots of fine china and glassware and things like that.
Yeah. Wow. So do you have any, like, treasured family heirlooms from your family? Things that you've kept that have been passed
That I
on to
have
you?
kept. I have a few of my mother's. I have, well, they're valueless things for the most part. I have a few of her kitchen equipment things, including the wire whisk that she used to make angel food cakes.
Oh.
It's just, I have never been able to make an egg white stiff with it. I've tried a few times just from curiosity, and she could whip up an angel food cake before you were even aware she'd started with it.
Wow.
It always just amazed me.
Wow.
I don't have any valuable. I've thought of that as I've gotten older. I don't have any valuable things to leave to my children.
Well, you have your legacy, which is
Well,
you've
really
cared for everybody and taken care of everybody, and in a lot of ways that's more valuable than leaving something.
Well, it'd be nice. I don't know
So.
why I haven't collected something valuable that I could pass on,
Oh.
but I haven't.
Yeah, I don't know. You're passing on yourself and your love, and that's
Well,
important. So.